Hey everybody, Derek here from Bomb Socks with more Bomb Bites, where we feast upon the words of Christ one bite at a time. So I want to ask you a question. As a member of the church, when was the last time you felt angry, frustrated, offended, or jealous? Now, those are all emotions that can happen very naturally to a lot of us. And so with that in mind, I want to show you section 112 of the Doctrine and Covenants, okay? For the next few days, I want to get into a lot of the context here, some of the church history, because there's some cool stories that help us understand why a lot of the members of the church started to feel this way. Well, you remember these guys. We have the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. Many of these names are very familiar with you. I want to focus on this gentleman right here, Thomas B. Marsh, okay? Thomas Baldwin Marsh. So he was born in 1800. He's one of the first members baptized in 1830, called to be a missionary while he had a young family. He was put in as president of the Quorum of the 12 because he was the oldest in age of the 12 at the time. He was 34 years old. So remembering these feelings of being angry, frustrated, being offended, or being jealous, I want you to watch this little clip here about Thomas B. Marsh. So watch this.
Quorum President Thomas B. Marsh returned to Kirtland from Missouri to meet with the 12 and reestablish quorum unity.
Parley, what brings you out this direction?
Well, I'm actually on my way to Missouri.
Well, how are things? And the 12?
Heber has gone on a mission to England.
How's that?
Joseph approached him in the temple and called him right then and there.
How could he do that? It is the quorum's responsibility to spread the gospel abroad, not Joseph's.
Orson Hyde also.
What?
Orson overheard the ordination. He asked if he could be called as well.
I specifically instructed the 12 not to leave for England until I could organize their missions.
Just over one.
Seeking the Lord's counsel, Thomas met with Joseph.
Brother Marsh, thank you for coming. Take care of these for me, please. Excuse us. Thank you so much for coming.
Certainly.
Please, have a seat. Thank you.
The result is section 112 of the Doctrine and Covenants.
Okay, so you see kind of some potential problems here. So let's go to section 112 of the Doctrine and Covenants. Now, as you see in the section heading, it says this revelation received on the day elders Heber C. Kimball and Orson Hyde first preached the gospel in England. So you kind of saw some context there. Thomas B. Marsh was at this time president of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles. So you can kind of see some of these feelings that I mentioned, these four emotions, start to brew within Thomas B. Marsh. So as you study this section, let me show you kind of an interesting way to do it. So if you are female, okay? If you are female, I want you to read 112 verses 1 through 11, and I want you to look for any praise and potential blessings that the Lord gives to Thomas B. Marsh through the prophet. Now, if you are a guy, if you are a male, will you read these same verses, 112, 1 through 11, and look for any warnings that the Lord gives? So just take a couple minutes. If you're a girl, look for this. If you're a guy, look for that. See what you can find. Now, one of the coolest verses in the Doctrine and Covenants, and understanding the context here, who it's to and why he's doing it, is verse 10. Be thou humble, and the Lord thy God shall lead thee by the hand and give thee answers to thy prayers. And so you can see Thomas B. Marsh has a good heart here. He wants to do what's right. But he's starting to see some pride, and the Lord sees this pride. And I think Joseph as well kind of sees this pride coming in. They want to help out Thomas B. Marsh. Well, the Lord gives counsel to the entire 12 here in verses 12 and 13. He says, and pray for thy brethren of the 12. Admonish them sharply. This was for Thomas. Admonish them sharply for my name's sake. Let them be admonished for all their sins. And be ye faithful before me unto my name. And after their temptations and much tribulations, behold, I, the Lord, will feel after them. And if they harden not their hearts, this is a great statement, if they harden not their hearts and stiffen not their necks against me, they shall be converted, and I will heal them. So the opposite of that there is if they harden their hearts and if they keep their necks stiff, the opposite of conversion is often apostasy, which leads to what takes place in this next little video.
1836 was a wonderful time to live in Kirtland, Ohio. a wonderful time to be a Latter-day Saint. The Lord's temple had finally been completed. The church was growing, and along with all the accompanying spiritual blessings, the saints were seeking to etch out a better way of life. Homes were built, businesses established. As a result, demand for land and merchandise increased. Prices skyrocketed. There was profit to be made. Money was scarce, particularly for new converts who were arriving in droves due to the church's zealous missionary efforts, usually without much more than the clothes on their backs.
Good afternoon, brethren. Midas Waters.
Brigham Young, this here's Lyman Johnson.
Morning.
I didn't reckon on meeting so many apostles my first day in Curtin.
Here in Kirtland, you can hardly take a step without meeting an apostle or two.
Over there is Orson Hyde.
You brethren know where a family of new converts might inquire about a new parcel of land?
As a matter of fact, Lyman, aren't you and your brother planning on selling off a parcel?
We are indeed. Reasonable, too. $500.
It's a mighty fine piece of land, Brother Johnson. But $500?
Excuse us.
That's awful high. Only trying to better my own situation, Brigham. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm not against a man trying to make a reasonable profit, but there's more here to consider.
Brigham, we don't see eye to eye in this.
This man and his family joined the Church of Jesus Christ. They pulled up stakes, leaving everything they know behind, so that they could come together with the saints of God. And why? Because the Lord asked them to. And then, when these folks finally arrive, they find there's not a dream under heaven that they can afford to stay. And this, because the Lord's very servants want to better their situations. Whose kingdom are you trying to build? The Lord's or Lyman Johnson's? It's gotten hold of your heart, Lyman.
In his absence, we formally denounce the leadership of Joseph Smith. Hear, hear! And declare him a fallen prophet.
Joseph Smith is the prophet of the church, and thereby its leader.
I know it. You know it.
Rail and slander him as you will, but you cannot destroy the appointment of the prophet of God.
Now, Brigham, we're gonna overrule you. David Whitmer is the man to lead us now.
You can only destroy your own authority. Cut the thread that binds you to the prophet of God, and sink yourselves to hell.
Jake.
Okay, you start seeing some of the crazy stuff that's starting to happen in Kirtland, Ohio. They build this temple, and people are starting to feel really good, and some of that pride kicks in, and you see it, even amongst the members of the Quorum of the 12 here. Well, verses 14 and 15, the Lord says, "Now I say unto you, and what I say unto you, I say unto all the 12, arise, gird up your loins, take up your cross, follow me, and feed my sheep. Exalt not yourselves, rebel not against my servant Joseph. For verily I say unto you, I am with him, and my hand shall be over him, and the keys which I have given unto him, and also to you, word," that's a fun phrase, "shall not be taken from him until I come." Go down to verse 28. "But purify your hearts before me, and then go ye into all the world, and preach my gospel unto every creature who has not received it." So here's the crazy thing about this, and many of you know this. Thomas B. Marsh really struggled. Lyman Johnson struggled as well. You're going to see tomorrow in our episode what eventually happens with these two brethren. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hey, thanks for subscribing, and thank you for sharing these messages. We appreciate it. Go check out our gospel-themed socks at BOM-BITES.com. Godspeed, guys. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.